Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players. And we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
The other schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
this one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
The epitome of what this team has done, right? Gavin homers, Jace homers, Braden homers, Chris Cortez, 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, so this much we know. Bluebell Park is going to be home of a regional, right? We know that. Bryan College Station. I know there's a little bit of chatter on the boards about that. We fully expect, and I say we, the experts out there, and Bronny being one of those, Kendall Rogers, for the University of Texas to be the 2 seed, the SIPs, whatever you want to call them, guys, to be the 2 seed, potentially a team out west, possibly Cal, and we'll find it out here in a little bit. But let's start this morning by honoring our military and our servicemen and women for fighting for our country. Memorial Day, hopefully everybody can take a moment to reflect on them. Welcome into TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. No Olin Buchanan today. He's on his way to Destin, Florida. It's interesting. OB, you're probably listening right now. You'll catch up and listen. It's funny how that's the one trip I know you're going to make every year. And you'll have to rub it in my face because you know I'm a Florida guy. Enjoy that trip. He'll have some reports starting, I believe, tomorrow. He'll be on the show tomorrow morning as well. But let's get into a deeper dive on a couple different things this first hour. By the way, I'll give you the rundown of what we have. Pete Fiutak going to be joining us at 8:35. Talk a little college football from College Football News. Luke Evangelist. So we were supposed to meet up with Coach Jamie Morrison, the volleyball coach, after the show on Friday, but his schedule got changed. So Luke ended up meeting up with him in the afternoon. So we're going to bring you a snippet of that interview here at 8:20. We're also going to talk to Schloss right at 9 o'clock. Bronny will be with us. JB Moss at 9:35, and then Billy Liucci will be with us. But let's start thinking about the softball team. So proud of those ladies, that entire program. Trisha Ford has that team on the rise, and I think it was a real terrible seeding by putting A&M where they put them there as the 16th. But it was a roller coaster ride this entire week, and look at that. Those 3 games, all decided by 1 run, all 3 of them. A roller coaster ride, no doubt about it, there in Austin. Kay Naegeli was there for all of it, and just a lot of emotions in that one. Last night, down 4 runs in the 7th inning, Julia Cottrell in her last at-bat as an Aggie with a 3-run blast, giving A&M just a little bit more hope, giving them much more hope, to be honest with you. Some chaos with the pitching, a couple of walks. Unfortunately, it was not enough. Game 2 of the series, by the way, also dramatic in that one. Hopefully you all were watching that. Maya Perez with a freshman pinch hit home run, first home run of her college career, to tie the game, force it into extras. Unfortunately, they would lose in extras.
David, that was her first extra base hit of her career. She had never hit anything more than a single, and she goes yard to dead central.
Who was it? Holly Rowe from ESPN took video of it. This is why we love college sports, something to that effect. Like, it was just a cool moment that you did not have to be on either side have a rooting interest on either side just to enjoy that college softball moment out there. So it was cool to see that. Unbelievable run. Ended too early. And it ended too early for a couple things. You went down to the number 1 team in the country, a team that's got a great chance to win it all. But these teams should have been meeting in Oklahoma City, not meeting in the Super Regional. A&M was way too good of a team to be the 16th team in this, to be matched up. Even the Texas head coach said that. So unfortunate there. So I guess we're going to this is what we know. There's going to be some seniors that won't be back. But this team is recruiting at a high rate, and they're also getting some transfers to come in. And we know that Trisha Ford has them going in the right direction. So let's hear from Trisha Ford last night. After an unbelievable run, a bit emotional, as you can imagine, Trisha Ford breaking it down.
This is a hard one. As a coach,
all you want is for your players to play hard and for themselves and to compete their tails off. And I feel like it was such an honor to coach these women. These two on the side of me have elevated this program just so much. And, I told them, I promised them when I took this job that we were going to do things that were special, and they were going to leave this program strong, smart, they were already there, athletic, and very, very capable women that will fight for what they want. And I don't know if these two, if there's anybody else that embodies that more than these two. I'm just so proud of our fight. I told you all that our programs, we don't give up until the last out, and you saw it firsthand for 3 games. So I just couldn't be more proud of what they showed on the field this weekend.
All right, those 2 players that were on the podium with her, Trinity Cannon and Rylan Wiggins. So just so you can see, because I know there was not video with that. But this is true. There's no quit. Like, I know many of you on Saturday were like, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? And they ended up tying it, right? Like, and then we were so close to seeing that last night. So what's next for Aggie softball? There's some miscues in this game that Coach Ford talks about. Clean up those miscues. They go toe-to-toe with the number 1 team in the country. What's next is hopefully next year an invite to Oklahoma City.
I think going through this, I think, when you go through the hard, it motivates you. And that's, again, you don't know what this light is like until you're here. And so now they know what it's like. And now they know, Texas is a great team, 100%. But we also know that there's some things that we didn't execute that put us in some tough binds. And, we clean up some of those things and you just don't know. And so, when you're in your off season, when you're training in the summer, when you come here during, fall, and we're working on those things, I just think that it makes it just a little bit more important.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Congratulations on a great season. I thought they were going to do it. I did. I believe, Nick, remind me, I usually go back to my notes, but I believe I called game 1. Did I call it correct? I feel like I did.
I don't remember if you gave like a score prediction.
No.
I don't do
that.
think you said if. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll give it to you. You called it.
I called it an Emily Kennedy fantastic performance to win game 1. I believe that's what I called. But it doesn't matter. It's not about calling because I've missed a lot on these. It's about what they were able to do. And I remember, where this program was a couple years ago. And Joe Evans was fantastic. But sometimes you need a change of voice and a change of leadership. And they got the right one. And if you look at all around campus, the programs, golf coming to an end on both sides, everybody leading their programs are doing at a top-notch level. From Jamie Morrison, who we're going to hear from here in the next segment, to Trisha Ford, to Jim Schlossnagle, to Coach Henry, to Coach G, all around, right? Like every team, a national championship in women's tennis, Coach Mark Weaver, who we need to get in the studio this week. So just an incredible run. And yes, sir.
Sorry, let's play this game, David. So we got, let's try to go in order here.
Yep.
Aggie volleyball makes the NCAA tournament in Jamie's first year. Aggie football, not the best year, but they still make a bowl game. Aggie soccer made the NCAA tournament, correct?
Yep. Had a win in the tournament as well.
Men and women's basketball make the NCAA tournament.
And they both get matched up with Nebraska.
Yeah, both get matched up with Nebraska. Help me out here. Men's and women's golf make the NCAA tournament. Women's golf wins a national championship.
No, women's tennis won the national championship.
Or, I'm sorry, individual national championship there. Men's and women's tennis, women national champion. Aggie softball, a win, a couple swings away from going to Oklahoma City. And Aggie baseball, definitely championship caliber team. We all know that. So really fun year for sure. And I'm forgetting Coach Henry, track and field.
Well, we'll hear from Eric Asars here in a moment, and he'll give us an update on how things went there for track and field. But this is go time now for the men, for the baseball team, right? Like Coach Schloss will be here hopefully in the next 55 minutes or so. But this is now everything we've talked about, everything that we thought was possible. This is the test. The test is finally here, right? There's no more like games that don't matter. It doesn't matter how you do in Hoover. All the arguments about do strikeouts matter, do they not? The test is here. and you'll have a regional here, and we'll find out who's going to be coming in a few hours. That regional is going to bring a really high-level 2 seed, probably the University of Texas. Regardless, whoever it's going to be great. And you're going to have to take care of business here. You're going to have to take care of business. But the beautiful thing is, I believe, and Nick, you can correct me here, 35-3 at home. Is that correct?
That sounds correct to me. I don't have that number in front of me, but, I mean, definitely didn't lose a non-conference game. Dropped one to Mississippi State, Arkansas, and that's it?
Georgia.
Georgia. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so 3 games at loss. So the test is finally here. Now the question will be, when does Ryan Brauninger go? Do they hold him for a game 2 potentially? Do they start him off? Does Shane Stadeo, does he feel better? Because he did have quite a bit of a workload with his start. A couple starts, I should say. So that's all questions that are going to be answered, and we'll talk to Schloss about that. But I'm excited about finding out the field finally and where this team goes. And we'll talk to Schloss about the mindset of the team moving forward, because it's now like there's not that there was any games being played, but there's a different level when you get to the postseason, right? When your season is on the line, there are different levels, and A&M's going to have to take care of business. But knowing that they have not lost at home is certainly a good thing. If you want to be part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up. You can text us, 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. This is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee, and you can get yourself a bag of TexAgs Coffee. All right, let's do this. We're going to go around the room and say hello to the people in a moment. But Aggie football, they tweeted out some videos and some pics. The freshmen have finally moved on campus. Looking forward to seeing a bunch of those guys. There we go. There's the video that Aggie football tweeted out just yesterday. Terry Bussey's in town. Isaiah Williams, Tristan Jernigan, and Solomon Williams are all in town now. Everybody's here. Colin Klein helping out those dudes move into their rooms. Excited to see what the summer workouts will do, the mindset that will be established here over the next 6 to 8 weeks, to determine what this team is like. Because remember, last week when Coach Elko was talking to the Houston Touchdown Club, he made reference to a couple players like, this is the time that you make your season. This is where you go get it, right? And so we'll see. We'll see what kind of work is done, how quickly these freshmen are they make the adjustment to the college game. So much talked about Terry Bussey, and you got to listen to what Coach Elko says. Don't put too much on his plate just yet. He's going to be a factor. He's going to be a player. But let there be, an evolution, if you will, to get to where he needs to be. And maybe it is early in the season. Maybe it's midseason. Maybe it's kick returns, punt returns. Maybe it's, he'll dabble in a little wide receiver. But give him time to get to that level and make sure that these other guys that they've brought in, these transfers, can certainly lead and start the process the right way. Also, another bit of news that I wanted to bring up. Edgerrin Cooper has signed his deal with the Green Bay Packers. I expect him to be a starter for the Packers as a rookie. I do. But a 4-year deal worth $8.6 million and a $3 million signing bonus there. He's expected to team up with Quay Walker there in the linebackers and be a force there. So props to Edgerrin Cooper getting his first deal. We go back to Nick Savage. Nick, I know you gave us some softball thoughts. Just overall, what's going on in your world?
Nothing. I got to say, and I don't know about you, but that's definitely the most fun I've ever had watching a softball series. 3 absolutely thrilling games, even though it didn't go, the Aggies' way. But, I mean, Trisha, was here last week saying...
Coach Ford to you.
Yeah, Coach Ford. But, she was saying how she has kind of like, tried to play catch up to the coaches since she got here, or however she phrased it, but I mean, I think she's right up there with them now. I mean, she's a few swings away from going to Oklahoma City in year 2. Like you said, she's already active in the transfer portal, bringing in a girl from San Diego State, I believe, with hitting over 350 with double-digit home runs. So that's going to be a key piece to replace, Trinity Cannon and some of those girls. But I mean, I'm excited for what year 3 is going to look like under Coach Ford.
Yeah, I am too. And first thing, I'm surprised to see Kay Naegeli already back in the office.
Yeah,
I know
what a trooper, right?
Like, goodness gracious.
She didn't get home until like 1 a.m. last night.
Which is like, for her, that's like 8:30 for me. It's 30 minutes before bedtime, let's be honest. She's young. But the trash thing on Saturday, I thought they were going to win Saturday. I thought when they were up, was it 5-1 entering the 6th or 5th inning? I think I was like, we're going to freaking win right now. Or 5-2, I think, at that point. We're going to win right here. And I was convinced of it. Unfortunately, they fell behind 6-5 after that. But I was convinced they were going to win the 2 games because I thought they were the better team leading into that point. But look, Texas is great. You got to give props to and they were able to weather the storm as well. They just had one more run, unfortunately, 2 more runs over the course of a series, but one more run in that decisive Game 3. Kay, great job there reporting there from Austin. If you didn't see her work, go to TexAgs.com. You can see all her write-ups there. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Eric Casares has been busy, back in the fold. Eric, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. Yeah, busy indeed. I was in Fayetteville, Arkansas from Sunday to Sunday, so it was a whole week process. We had a lot of people qualify for the NCAA championships to extend their season. Can't wait to talk with Coach Henry on Wednesday about it. It's going to be fun. And David was asking me before the show, hey, do we still have a chance to win a national championship? Absolutely we do. So I'm excited to give y'all some updates on there. And yeah, David, what's going on in your world, man?
It's not about me. It's about you. So 2 things. Clint, I see they are TU, not the University of Texas. All right, dude, whatever. Fine. Yes, I said TU earlier too. Do we really need to make this a thing? I'm just talking. All right, like, whatever. Eric, go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask you obviously it's not about me, but I did want to ask you, how was the weekend? You obviously talked about Aggie softball, what a great season they had, but you had to be on your edge of the seat like every single game, and you said you called Game 1. How are you feeling?
I don't know if yes, I did call Game 1, but I didn't call it. Like Nick is right. I didn't say a score. I just thought Emily Kennedy would be dominant and the Aggies would win Game 1. But I don't want to say it's the most softball I've watched, but it's the most nail-biting softball I've watched in a while. Like, I was like, every pitch mattered, and my kids and my wife were asking. Remember, my wife went to Texas. She was rooting for the Aggies. Sorry, Texas fans that are watching. Aggies pay the bills, and she knows that. And, if she wants to eat dinner, she has to root for the Aggies. But she was rooting for A&M. It was cool to see, especially since we know some of the girls and Coach Ford. I was on the edge of my seat as well, but I also had a bunch of soccer, and luckily this is the first weekend in maybe 6 months that I've had games in College Station, which was nice to see her.
Yeah, and shout out to Julia Cottrell. She hit a 3-run homer to bring the deficit to 6-5 in the 7th inning, and I really thought like we were going to pull it out at the end there. But yeah, phenomenal season for Trisha Ford and that squad. And Texas is a wagon. Credit to them. And that matchup, like you said, should have happened in the Women's College World Series, no doubt about it.
Explain to me, if you're allowed to, I don't even know if you're allowed to, but there's a little controversy with A&M track and field, Connor Schulman. He kind of got screwed over, right?
Yeah, he got screwed over, got impeded in the hurdle for this other dude that was in the lane next to him, caused him to fall over. He wasn't able to qualify. There was a protest. It got denied. So right now they are filing a lawsuit.
Lawsuit?
Yeah, no, I don't know have all the details on that.
But lawsuit?
I don't. Yeah, because it did get denied, and Coach Henry was very, very upset. Obviously, rightfully so. And he's going to try to get it taken care of. We won't know the update quite yet. I'll keep you all updated on that. But Connor Schulman,
he's a huge part of what you all do.
Huge part of the team. We'll be praying for you, man. I'm really close with him. Good friend of mine, and I really hope he gets in because that's a horrible, unfortunate circumstance, and you don't want to end your season that way. So we'll be praying for him, and we're going to need him.
I'm trying to think of a comparison in the sports world, like Kyrie not being able to go in Game 7, right, for the Mavs, something to that effect. Like this is a huge part of what you guys do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And J.Q. Scott was able to hold it down for us. He was able to win his heat, having the second overall fastest time in the West preliminary rounds, and he got us to Eugene as well. But him and Connor have been the 1-2 punch all season. They've gone 1-2 indoor SECs, out nationals. They were 1-3, so they're high level capable scorers for this team, and we're gonna need Connor out there. And the way the rule works, I was telling David about this before we started, was if Connor's able to go, he would just run from lane 9 as like an extra guy, and he would still have to qualify for the other round to get into the next round of Eugene. So, like I said, we'll be praying for you, man, and we hope to hear good results.
Yep, no doubt about that. What other news do you have for us, Eric?
Yeah, so we were talking about all the other seasons. Of course, Aggie softball having a great season, but I wanted to give another shout-out to Aggie golf. They concluded their season finishing 20th at the NCAA Championships. They moved up 2 spots, 3rd round, but missed the top 15 cutoff to advance to Monday's final of stroke play. Overall, they ended the tournament tied with Stanford for 20th place, 41 over 905. Shout out to Daniel Rodriguez for not only being the Aggies' top scorer, tied 40th to 6 over 222, but also competing in his final tournament for Texas A&M. And that's all I got for you so far.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, Eric. When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, Jamie Morrison, we recorded it on Friday. Actually, Luke Evangelist doing it himself. We were supposed to connect myself with Coach Morrison, but his schedule got changed up, so we'll have Luke run that interview. It'll be good. And then after that, Pete Fiutak got to get to some football thoughts, and then a lot of baseball the rest of the way. We'll have Schlossnagle, we'll have Brauninger, we'll have Liucci on a mobile, and Liucci at some point will make it here to studio, but he's traveling, so we'll get into that here in a moment. If you're looking for a reason to come back to Aggieland, you got a bunch of reasons right now. You got baseball, obviously. You got some big soccer match coming. You got the big concert coming, so there's a lot of reasons to come back. But if you want to live that life all the time, why not get a job here in Aggieland and maybe look at the Association of Former Students who are looking to hire professionals to join their team. There are positions open in marketing. There's also positions open in fundraising, former student programs, you name it. They are the premier alumni association in the world. They're the oldest organization supporting that A&M Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, Aggie muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that Aggie network. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with somebody that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB is on his way to Destin. Must be nice, Olin. I want to get that assignment one day. Hey, reminder, Saturday, July 27th, our preseason kickoff. Make sure you get your tickets now because it's not going to be available for long. That is brought to you by Power 5 Financial. It's going to be a great event. We always honor the coaches at Texas A&M. We get a preview from Coach Elko on the season and all the good stuff happening there. We'll talk to Schloss. We'll talk to Buzz. We'll honor all the coaches, Joni, Trisha, you name it. They'll all be part of the conversation when we are there. So this year, moving the event to the MSC. Looking forward to all that. If you want to register, go to texags.com/kickoff. Get yourself your registration now. By the way, I want to read a couple messages on the TexAgs chat. Calvin says, agree, Nuño, softball is a team on the rise. Just need more time and pitching depth. A few late defensive lapses the last couple of games. The sixth inning was kryptonite. Ags gave up 12 runs in 3 games in the sixth. Unfortunate. Trisha will get them right. Their approach is aggressive. I love their approach. Can't stand watching a sports team play not to lose. Definitely not Ford's approach. Her teams play to win. Couldn't agree with you anymore, Calvin. Good stuff there. All right, as I mentioned, Jamie Morrison, I believe, is already in Europe. He was traveling because he's got the USA's coming up and Team USA duties, I should say. And our Luke Evangelist caught up with him. He's got a squad coming next year, guys. But let's kind of get a feel for where things are as Luke Evangelist catches up with the Aggie volleyball head coach.
We're sitting down with Texas A&M volleyball coach Jamie Morrison, the most busy man in Aggieland this summer. You've got just your regular duties for Aggie volleyball. You've got the U19 national team for Team USA. You've got recruiting. You've got your Europe trip. Can you just take us through how you're staying organized through all this?
My staff is the number one thing. Just I hired good people that are able to handle the load without me being around. So, and then I got to give a big shout out to Ashley Reeser, our director of operations. Just she's the person that kind of keeps me on track. And when things get really crazy, I'm like, hey, I need you this week. I need you to tell me where I need to be at what minute. And I would lean on her, but I would say the entire staff, just having people you trust is the number one thing. And there's some other USA things you didn't even mention in there, but yeah, the next 3 months is pretty crazy.
Absolutely. Can you take us through, after 1 year in Aggieland, kind of what you've noticed is different from what you're used to with the national team environment compared to what you've experienced at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just understanding that these students, and I say that first, student athletes, they got to balance those two things. And I don't think that's an easy thing. And just I've had a couple conversations with our athletes right now as we're preparing this for this foreign trip. Like, man, it's just nice getting trained by you and just being able to focus on volleyball and then go relax in the afternoon. And I think that's one of the biggest differences is that you can just, put your head down and dive into volleyball. Whereas with this, and I think from the player side, they have a lot of things distracting them. I think from the coaching side too, there's just a lot of different elements, and you're running a small business just as much as you are coaching a volleyball team.
Absolutely. Speaking of, there's a lot going on in college athletics from the student athlete side to the government side. How is that impacting you, your team, the sport of volleyball as a whole, and just everything that you're involved in?
Yeah, I think it's changing every minute. And I think, whatever it was, like an hour or something, I think everything got approved by all conferences. I think I've seen that come through, but we've been kind of been waiting and seeing. I'm like, all right, is going to move forward with this new, landscape of what college athletics is going to be? And then it's, what does it mean now? And I think one of the toughest things in this field right now is just you feel like the ground's moving beneath you every single minute. And I think I'm starting to wrap my head around where I think it's going and trying to get ahead of that a little bit. But I don't think anybody can fully answer that question. I know we're going to be able to compensate our athletes. We don't know how much and where that money's going to go and what sports and et cetera, et cetera. And I have, conflicting thoughts about that. I'm happy that our athletes are going to get compensated. I think we need to find a way to keep the soul of college athletics and make it about college and make it about an education. And probably the biggest thing that I think is we're trying to professionalize this over and over again, but the college landscape gives our athletes a chance to make mistakes and learn from them in a college atmosphere and not in a pro atmosphere where you're going to get fired. And we need to save that in some way, shape, or form, that we keep our kids, that we keep them students, that we give them an opportunity to learn and grow, and that we make it about that. But on the flip side, again, I am happy that our athletes are going to be compensated for the work put in.
Absolutely. Can you take some of the fans who maybe are just getting familiar with Aggie volleyball, can you take them through kind of what this roster was like last year and then the changes that you've seen into the offseason and into year two?
Yeah, I came in with the roster, and I think there's some coaches that are probably like, hey, these aren't my kids, and my mindset was these are somebody's kids, and I need to care for them. And try to do what's best for, and I talk to our athletes that I think when you take over a volleyball program and you're a coach, you have to look at it through the lens of the priority is this program, the second priority is this team, this iteration of this program. The third thing is each individual athlete, and then the fourth one is probably me, because I'm going to make some decisions that cut me up inside as a leader that I don't necessarily want to make, but I know they're in the best interest of the program. So with that, there's a nucleus that has been here and will be here. And then there's just been pieces that have been put around it. So the transfer portal is a thing. Again, going back to keeping college athletics, it's a blessing and a curse in there. We've added some athletes to the portal. We've added some athletes. Amari Hernandez is coming in as a 2024. She's the one youngin that we have coming in. But my biggest motto has been recruit good people, whether that be the transfer portal or it be through traditional recruiting. Is just get on the phone and make sure that it's a human being that one of our transfers that came in, we had to go get her a new passport and spent 5 hours and kind of on the day, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And I think those are the people that you want around. Like at the end of the day, like this is a job, and who we're around matters a lot. So good people is probably the most important thing. And we're getting more athletic.
Yeah, you're recruiting great people, but also great athletes. For those of you who are unaware, your 2025 class currently has 2 of the top 5 players in the state of Texas. So expanding that recruiting base. How excited are you to kind of bring that new level of athlete to Aggieland?
Yeah, extremely. And just the thing I've told the people that are coming to this program the most is just thank you for believing in what we're creating. And I get chills as I'm saying that, because that takes a lot of belief. And it's happening faster than probably I even thought it would be happening. I think just the level of play that's happening in the gym, the level of recruits that we're getting in general. I'm so thankful and blessed every single day that people are choosing to believe what it is that we're saying.
Absolutely. So you're recruiting, but that's not it for this summer. Yeah. You're back with the Team USA U19 national team. Last summer, you led them to a gold medal at the World Championships. Can you take us through that run and how much it meant to you?
It meant the world. Those usually end up in 2-year cycles. So the first year, which is this right now, we take the team to what's usually called Norseca, and that's your zone. And it's kind of like putting training wheels on a little bit. And you end up getting 2 or 3 kind of tough matches. But for the most part, you're kind of, like I said, the college experience, you're free to make some mistakes. And we took that group, and we had some actually veterans because they rearranged the age group. But we took that group and got really, really good at volleyball. And I was like, man, we're going to be really good at World Championships. And all of a sudden they released the schedule, and it overlapped with the college season by 3 days. And the older athletes in that group that were going off to college, the majority of their college coaches, not surprisingly, were wanting them within their program. So we had to take this really young group that had never played international volleyball. I remember leaving and talking to Kim and saying, man, if we get a medal during this, it's going to be the best coaching job of my life. And I vividly remember we get into the gold medal match, and we're down 0-2. And I was actually just talking to some athletes on another USA thing I was doing 2 weeks ago. We were down 0-2, and everyone kind of thought we were out. And I was like, first set, we were pretty bad. Second set, we started to get a little bit better. I'm like, if we can take this over. In the third set, we win that. We win the fourth, and all of those athletes were like, yeah, once we got to the fifth, we knew it was ours. But I vividly remember, gold medal point, overpass, we get a kill, and I just stood there with my arms above my head, and I was just like, I can't believe we just did this. And just went and hugged our team, and then I went and hugged our staff and just said it was a really amazing job of getting a group of young women ready to go do something that has only been done once in the history of USA volleyball in that program, and winning a gold medal at the junior level. And I thought it was a really, really, really cool and rewarding experience, and that's why I signed up to do it again.
Yeah, that's awesome. So doing it again entails coaching them for the Norseca Continental Championship in Honduras. Do you have any returning players from that last year? And take us through the scouting, the selection process, the implementation of getting all these kids from across the country to come and join your team.
Yeah, a lot of stuff in there. Returning players, there are some returning players that I trained. If I'm doing my math right there and thinking about it, I don't think there's any returning players that traveled. So those players aged up, and whoever's coaching that U21 group has a job ahead of them, because there's a lot of talent up there. So it's kind of a new generation. There are some people that have been around, and I'm hoping they were around enough to know what the culture is going to be, because I think that allows that to happen faster. And then selection. I don't take this lightly. I think the reason why USA Volleyball wants me back is there's a lot of work that gets put in because
All right, Jamie Morrison there. We're going to hit a break here. We'll talk some football when we come back with Pete Fiutak from College Football News. Right now, Milliken Reserve time. Farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes. They got trails. They got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They've done that by treading lightly on the land. Milliken Reserve is creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. They're dedicated to the conservation of a healthy community, respect for the native landscape and wildlife. 2,600 acres of open space, farms, trails, and homes out there. They want to connect families with nature and with each other, and they've done that such a great job of doing that with those beautiful trails throughout that wooded landscape that has walking and equestrian paths, creeks and ponds, and gathering areas. They're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. You know, when you go there, you're going to see all the beautiful animals that you want to see. And when you go there, you can go hiking, biking, kayaking, canoeing, equestrian trails, evening yoga. You go fishing out there. They got the summer camps that are starting soon, music festivals, farmer markets, and farm tours. You can learn more at millikenreserve.com. That website is millikenreserve.com. Go check it out. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, working on getting Pete Fiutak on the show from College Football News. Bronny was explaining to me a possible scenario there that maybe he forgot, oh yeah, I booked that interview on a holiday. Bronny's here with us to get us ready for Schloss here momentarily. How are you, buddy?
Good. It's good to be back in town, and looking forward to today's announcement.
Yep. How was the Hoover experience for you? I know you love being there, but
Hoover's great. Hoover's great. Just highly recommend it for the baseball, for the people, for the overall experience. I think that to me, and I said this, I was on a couple of radio shows in Knoxville and Nashville before A&M played Tennessee, and I think it's my favorite 3 to 4 days on the SEC calendar, athletic calendar, because for 4 days straight, you have games starting at 9:30 a.m. and they run all day. It's an incredible experience if you love baseball. You see, I got there, I was getting there around 8:15 every morning, and there were multiple fans of multiple schools out tailgating already. It's a really cool experience. If you've ever been to Orange Beach for vacation, it's like Orange Beach, but not at Orange Beach. It's just a conglomeration of every SEC fan base. And they're obviously very proud of their schools and stuff like that. It's just, I have a ton of fun out there.
Hey, so I didn't ask Nick to get this video, but can we kind of go over what happened at the the LSU? Which game am I thinking of? The play at home that the catcher interference.
Oh, yeah.
Can you kind of explain your perspective of that?
That's the letter of the law says they made the right call.
Mm-hmm.
The law's not written great. I mean, what do your eyes tell you? That he should be out.
He should 100% be out.
He should 100% be out. And then, obviously, I think LSU hit the home run right after. So it was like a ball don't lie moment or something.
Sure.
But, again, what if that is in a regional or a super regional or Omaha, and then you're going to have, that kind of rule dictate the outcome of a game when, what do your eyes tell you? It's like, some of the catch rules in football. Your eyes will tell you that it's a catch, right? Sometimes you don't have to, and you keep going to replay and you keep going to replay, and you have multiple camera angles and you're able to slow it down. And I think that kind of sometimes takes away from what actually happened with, when you looked with your eyes and saw it. And so there was, it's just a weird baseball rule that I wish they would. The goal when they wrote the rule was to avoid collisions at the plate and give the runner a clear pathway to slide so that he doesn't feel like he's got to bowl over catchers to make his way to the home plate. So, I don't know. For a tournament that did a huge experimental thing with the double first base, to then have that kind of call coming and people getting upset with that kind of call, it's just weird. I wish they would rewrite the rule, and I also wish that
But they can't rewrite it in the moment.
No. But by the letter of the law, it was. I think the proper call was made. I just don't like the letter of the law. What I wish they would permanently do is add the double first base. I mean, I was watching, I actually text Schloss about this, game 1 of the softball super regional where they had that little dust up. You know what it started over? The girl from Texas is the first baseman.
They stepped on her?
Yeah, but her foot is on the center in front of the base. I don't think she was doing it on purpose. I think she was just trying to find the base with her foot. And I think Coco Woolley was running. I'm like, well, she's got a right to the center of the base just as much as the fielder does. And if you have a double base there, you avoid all that. And there was 2 ejections made. So if you have a double base and you have a clear path for the runner to go to, then you don't have that collision. There's no jeopardy there of the fielder's foot being right in front of the center of the base. So I like that the SEC tournament did that. It's just so much safer. Whether the guys are used to it yet or not, I think it does give them more space. And you were some plays, some pitcher fielding practice plays where pitcher's covering first, some bunts where it just creates space, and that's what you're looking for.
So what happens now after this whole LSU debacle? Can they rewrite the rule moving forward?
Not right now. I mean,
not for this season.
But you know what? Coach Schlossnagle is on the rules committee, and I'm sure that'll be something that he'll want to address. Maybe we can ask him about it here in a little bit. But I do think that I actually got to meet some of the SEC umpires in Hoover, and I think that double base thing is something that everybody's interested in doing. So I could see that being implemented into the league next year.
Are there scenarios where you have
the problem with a double base? I'll tell you this: is they've got to right now there's too many rules surrounding who gets access to what part of the base. And if a throw takes the fielder early enough, if a throw takes the fielder away from the white base, can he use the green base? And then the runner's got to switch. Like, I think make it easy. The whole base is available to everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you have to have a line on it, because if the green base or the outside base, if a ball hits it, it's got to be foul. Like, it can't be part of fair territory. But I think the fielder and runner should be able to access both sides of it. And you just kind of clear up with the understanding that the goal is to avoid collision. So if a throw takes the first baseman to the outside of the bag, there should be still plenty of space for a runner to duck inside, even if it's last minute, and touch the inside. But right now, as it's written, there's parameters on who can touch what base when, and I wish they would just go away from that.
And there's too much thinking that has to happen there in that situation.
Yeah, and you leave too much up to I think you're trying to put too many guidelines and too many stipulations on something that could be bang, bang. Again, just let both the fielder and the runner have access to the whole entire base. And then if something happens, go back and use your eyes. And what do your eyes tell you about who was in the right and the wrong if there's a collision?
Yeah. Hey, so we'll bring you back here shortly, but I do want to close with this. This is now, the test is here. The opportunity is here for A&M. Everything they've worked for, we're about to find out who will be here. But the bottom line is this team at home is a different team. They're great on the road, but it's a different team at home.
Yeah, I would be hesitant to call them great on the road. They've been average.
Good.
They've been average on the road, which is about what everybody else has been on the road. But at Bluebell Park, they have been pretty special. Yeah, I think the number one goal, they went into Hoover, and I don't think there was any kind of expectation for them to win the tournament. Like, they were fine if they did, fine if they didn't. I said it all week leading into Hoover that you always care about winning. You just care a little bit less about losing. That being said, being around the kids and the coaches in Hoover, when the ball's rolled out and you're playing Mississippi State at night and then you're playing Tennessee the next day, like, when the game was being played, there wasn't anybody going, okay, we're okay with losing. Like, when you get in those competitive atmospheres with real competitors, they want to win. And so I don't think the A&M clubhouse or the A&M dugout was okay with what happened in Hoover. Now, it stings a little less, but I do think they came home with a little bit of bad taste in their mouth. That being said, you get to come home and they got a few days off. And I think getting rested and reset, and that'll be the theme of my article today, is like, okay, the grind of the regular season is over. You have some guys nursing some injuries that are really playing through them. Jackson Appel is a dadgum warrior, what he's playing through. Get them off their feet for a few days. Let them rest and reset their mind and reset their focus to go, okay, we've had some incredible moments this season. We've had some head-scratching moments this season. It's time to reset. And they talk about opening day mentality. Here it is again. Reset. Put everything that the first 57 games, they don't matter anymore. Reset. Opening day's Friday. And so that kind of mentality, I think they'd kind of lost it a little bit just because it's so hard when you get into game 50 to have an opening day mentality. Now it's an easy, hard reset, right? Friday, opening day. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah. And by the way, I did want to talk about Tennessee winning, and I think it'll be an interesting case study of them winning and using their pitching staff and their guys, and how they do as probably the overall number one.
Well, there's quite a history of the team that wins the SEC tournament doesn't go to Omaha.
Right.
It's just such a there's a real argument to be had that winning in Hoover is harder than winning in Omaha because it's compressed and you're playing the best teams in the country. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have time. In Omaha, if you get to the championship series, you get days off. There's a days off between games. In Hoover, it's show and go, and there's some days you got two, and it's a beat down on your pitching staff. So Tennessee's very, very good. I was very impressed with not just their lineup, and that's what sticks out. They've had 140-something home runs, but, man, they run out some real guys on the mound too. That's a really good ball club.
Vitello's an interesting character. Like, there's part of me that likes him because
he's toned down. Have you noticed?
He has toned down.
Yeah.
In fact, even his press conference after the whole scuffle there, he was like, he seemed a little bit more relaxed.
Well, and he was trying to get his guys off the field. Like, you could see him, like, trying to usher guys to get them in the dugout. I think what Coach Vitello, he was a young coach. Don't forget, so this is his 7th year at Tennessee, and that was his first job.
Right.
So he was like he's basically like what Nolan Kane is now. Like he was one of the top assistants in the country, and he got a shot at a big program. So he's continuously learning about himself as a head coach. And so I think 2 years ago in 2022, when they were just blasting everybody, and then they lost to Notre Dame in that Super, I think that humbled him a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Say, hey, maybe we need to take a little bit of this edge off of how we do things. And he certainly he's still fiery, but you can tell it's toned down a little bit.
Thank you, Bronny. We'll get you here with Schloss. All right, we'll come back here in 2 minutes. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Double Bagginger will be on the show a little bit later. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Eric, the texts have really been about softball. There's been a lot of softball love this morning.
Yeah, a lot of softball love this morning. Let's start off with Matt in San Antonio. He said, if you aren't going to win it all, which only one team will, the next best thing you can do is generate positive momentum for the program. That's exactly what the Aggie softball did, not only this past weekend, but the entirety of the season. Extremely proud of them.
Yeah, you should be. She's building something special across the street. They're going to be pretty good. They are pretty good, I should say. But they're a national championship contending team for now on. And this year they were a national championship contending team, right? Like I think if you play that series a few more times, A&M's going to win 2 of the 3. And again, the number 1 team in the country. You take on Texas, you take on Oklahoma, either one of those teams. I mean, that you're not expected to compete the way the Aggies were, and they had a chance to win it. Let's try to get the Coach Elko text, from Tom.
Yeah, so Tom St. Martin said, I think I've heard Elko talk about force multipliers, and that's why we need baseball to do something special. Women's tennis started it, softball kept the momentum, and baseball winning can springboard the whole athletic program into the fall.
Yep, no doubt about that. When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, Jim Schlossnagle, I believe in studio. I might be wrong, but I believe he's going to come in the studio. That's per Ryan Brauninger. If not, we'll get him on the phone. Bronny's with us, obviously. We'll have JB Moss a little bit after that, and then we'll get to Billy Liucci for the 10 o'clock hour. That and more, you're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
don't talk about.
Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studios. About to get real, guys. Got Jim Schlossnagle in studio. Ryan Brauninger is with us. Schloss, how are you, sir?
Rested.
Yeah? That's good, right?
That's a good word, yeah.
Physically, yes. Mentally, never this time of year. But we had a really awesome workout last night, and not long, but it's amazing to see rested players.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally for them too. It was pretty cool, honestly.
Is there a secret sauce, if you will, for rest? Like 48 hours, a couple days, like, because you want to stay in rhythm, obviously.
Yep. For baseball, there is. I told them, we traveled Friday, said you guys have all day Friday. Gave them off all day Saturday, but I felt like 3 days is too much. Mm-hmm. They're going to go do stuff anyway. Our players especially, a guy like Jace or especially Braden, who didn't have the greatest tournament. He's going to go. He's going to want to do more, not less, which is not great. But so I said we gave him till last night. So he had all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then effectively most of the day yesterday. And it's getting pretty warm again. So, and our batting cages aren't. You can open the doors and turn some fans on, but there's no air conditioning. So we need to get in that mode anyway of handling the heat. So we just had a short, we met they had a lift. We met for about 15 minutes to kind of get a little reset. I gave them a schedule for the week, had a few choice words for where we are and where we need to go. And then we had a light little workout, and we'll do that again today. So I'd like to kind of slowly, we'll have an individual work today, and then Tuesday, Wednesday will be team stuff, just kind of stuff you don't get to practice during the season because you're just trying to get a little bit of work in and get them off their feet. But we'll have a good reset on some areas and then wind back down, so we're ready to play Friday.
Did you think, and I was talking to David actually about this before this segment started, but so long of the season you talked about opening day mentality, and you can say that, and it is a good mentality to have, but when it's game 50, 55, it gets a little bit tough.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is a good spot to have one of those hard, clean resets?
I do, and understand, I was just telling somebody this morning, I'm the most competitive, jealous, envious guy ever. Like, I never want to see teams playing when we could be playing and we're not playing, right? So I go home, and after mowing grass on Saturday morning, I got nothing else to do. So what do? Turn on the SEC tournament. And I'm so stinking mad that we're not playing. But in reality, it's, when you get to talk to, when I asked Jackson Appel how he's feeling last night, he's like, I'm best I've felt since the season started, right? Your starting catcher who's pretty banged up. And so, yeah, I think it's been a good reset. I heard briefly what you said before I came in here about the history of the teams that play deep into it. I know how we felt playing 6 straight games in the conference tournament last year, just totally exhausted, and being glad we actually got sent to Stanford. That was a blessing for us. So, yeah, it's a good reset, but it's also, it doesn't taste good, which can be good. That's a good thing.
When I was in Hoover analyzing, you go in and you understand that your goal of wrapping up a top 8 national seed is probably done. You don't really need to do anything. And so what I said going into the week is, like, you always care about winning. You maybe just care less about losing. But from my perspective, it's like when you guys got into those games against Mississippi State, and that was a great atmosphere in Tennessee, like, it's hard not to sit there and say, okay, if we lose, it's fine.
Yeah, you don't say you at least know there's another day coming, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody, I know that there's nobody that walked out of there saying, oh, that's fine. No one walked out. And we had a very stern conversation when we got back to the hotel, really the first one that I've had with the team all year, that, hey, let's call a spade here. Like, I had 3 points with them. I don't know if I need to share the whole thing, but I'm pretty transparent, as you know. So the first thing was that what just happened was, and what has gone on 3 of the last 4 weeks, that's not okay. And that doesn't mean that, it can happen to any team, because point number 2 was they call it a season for a reason. It's a season. They play 162 in the big leagues because if you only played 50, you wouldn't know who the best team was. But over the course of 162, you do figure out who the best teams are if they can stay healthy. So the team that, you know, played the way we did at Ole Miss or whatever is still the same team that played a 15-0 and 9-0 game against Vanderbilt, right? And so I think, you know, they call it a season for a reason, and 3 of those 4 weekends that we didn't like were all on the road, right? Well, we've played well enough. We earned the right in the best league in the country to get to play at home. And the 12th man is real. Mm-hmm. It's real. LSU having all those people there at the conference tournament, that's real. Because when you put an A&M uniform and the 12th man's behind you, like, you play differently. There's no doubt about it. You feel differently about yourself. You feel like there's people behind you. And when you go on the road, you have to generate that yourself. So my point is, you know, we've earned the right to play at home. The last 3 of the last 4 weekends doesn't taste great. But at the same time, if we would have had those weekends early and then played our best baseball in the last 3 or 4 weekends, how would we feel today? Right. So your attitude's a choice you make, right? So choose to remember all the great things. Braden Montgomery, they call it an average for a reason. You haven't had the greatest 7-day stretch or whatever it is. That just means, in my mind, you're about to have the most awesome weekend, right? So I don't know. That's what I said to the team, in case fans care to hear it. So we said, let's call a spade. This was brutal, like brutal, not acceptable. And they all agreed. But now let's go. Let's move forward, man. Let's get a reset. It's all about preparation. You have the rest of your life to spend extra time with your girlfriend. You have the rest of your life to party. You have the rest of your life to do all these other things, man. You only have this small window of time, which could only be 2 more games, or it could be 4 more weeks. So let's be the most prepared team. It's going to be hot, but let's take advantage of getting to play at home.
What is the personality of the team? They haven't had a lot of adversity, but a little bit of adversity the last few weeks. Is it to get mad? And you mentioned Braden. He's going to do more work than he should. Like, what's the overall mindset there? Good.
You know, and I told him, I said, you know, everybody talks about Pringles from 2022. Mm-hmm. Why'd they talk about Pringles? Because we won. We went to the World Series. We won the SEC West. No one would be talking about Pringles if we scooted our way barely into a regional and lost, right? So let's don't forget, like the Rattling Bog and Fungo, all that stuff that's cool when you win. So it's the old saying, don't let your style be your substance. Have your substance be your style. So let's make sure that we're the most locked in team, and all that other peripheral stuff will take care of itself. I don't want to take away the character of our team, because part of what makes us good is that the guys play with some freedom and they play loose, which is not always my personality, right? Because I don't like that stuff. I mean, I like them playing free and loose, but I don't like rattling ball. I don't like that stuff. Texas A&M baseball player, you have enough attention being brought to you. You don't need more. So let's make sure we keep the most important things, and I do trust our players with that. They were embarrassed. They know that's not acceptable, and they also are old enough to know that season can be over just like that. Yep. I was my last year at TCU, we were a national seed. Won game 1. DBU beat us in a close game. We had to get up the next morning and play, and Oregon State ended our season, and I end up here. And so, it can go long, or it can be over quick.
Do you think that this little break, this reset, you have actually a good mix of guys that have played in the postseason that are influential players on your team and guys that haven't. Do you think that this break benefits more the guys that haven't or the guys that have? And I would lean toward the guys that haven't, and like looking at Gavin and especially Caden Sorrell, who probably is going, okay, I can finally breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not a day-to-day pressure to perform.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you. I think just a step away is awesome. You could see it in them yesterday. I mean, the way guys were moving around. I had to slow down Jace running across the outfield because he wanted to go catch every ball. Guys are wanting to take extra swings, and Mike and I we've got a pretty good plan in place to, again, we'll pick it up a little bit today. Tomorrow and Wednesday will be focused on the team itself, and then we'll gear it back because we are going to play the first game on Friday. Don't know who that's against yet. We'll find out here in a little bit, but we're going to be playing an afternoon game on Friday, and it's going to be hot, and guys got to be rested and ready to go for that.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't know if when you look at that, you mentioned playing the first game Friday. Something you've typically done is not throw your Friday night guy on that Friday game. Will that all depend on the matchup?
Yeah, and I have done it, but it just matters on you got to look and see who the 4 seed is and what's the matchup, what's the rest of the tournament. I play to win the tournament, not win a game. And so I've played 4 seeds that everybody here talks about not here they don't, but in 2014 or 15, whatever it was, we played a 22-inning game, regional game against Sam Houston. Yeah. And everybody talks about, David Pierce was the coach, and we won the 22-inning game in the middle game in the regional. Nobody talks about the fact we played 11 innings the night before against Siena, and they had a 6th-round pick lefty. Boomer White, everybody knows who he is. He got the walk-off hit to win that night, and then we played another 22 innings the next night. So we'll get the bracket today, and then we'll say, okay, what gives the best chance to win? But rarely, I've never actually gotten to play a team that maybe had a bad regular season and won their tournament. The teams that we've played, Oral Roberts, these 40-win teams that win their league and win their tournament, but it's a low RPI and they put them as a 4 seed. And you're like, what the heck, man? This is an Omaha team.
Yeah.
I know.
They went last year.
Yeah. And was it 2017? A&M went to the Houston Regional, and the 4 seed was Iowa.
Yes.
Was Iowa the 4 seed? Houston was the 1. Texas A&M.
A&M was the 3. I think Baylor was the 2.
Yeah, Baylor was the 2, and Iowa, who has had an awesome program for a long time. Like, you can get stuck in a regional, and you're like, we can't save number 1 because it's a real matchup. So we'll figure out the matchups, and we'll throw the guys that give us the best chance to win the weekend.
I just want to ask this because it's fresh on my mind. I don't know if you got to see fans around here will be familiar. Will Bolt, Nebraska wins the Big Ten tournament, but Will Bolt had a quote about, and I thought it was, Will's a really smart guy, really savvy guy. He talked about you can't be emotional playing baseball. Like, you can want to win and all that stuff, and you can be really fired up to win, but the game doesn't care about that. Like, how much of that goes into kind of your conversation with the team about, look, guys, like, you can play with emotion, but being emotional about your results, it doesn't work.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's just you play with passion. You want them to have a good time. You want them to be into the game, but you can't, like you said, you can't ride the wave of emotions, because if you let that, then one at bat's going to carry into another, or you're going to think you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof and not be locked into the next pitch. You truly have to play the game one pitch at a time. If you win that pitch, awesome. All right, so what next pitch, right? And so Will's great. I recruited Will when I was at Tulane. He was playing a little second base for the Columbia Angels, I think.
Yeah.
So Will's doing a great job, and he and Coach Childress, what a great season they've had.
We talked about the reset for the mind and body, but what about for a guy like Shane Sadeo, who did have that extra load? How good was this for him?
I think each individual guy, it's a great question. Each individual guy, and Max and I, from a pitching standpoint, that we talked about that going into the conference tournament. Prager, we felt like, was a guy he needs to pitch. Like, he's kind of a touch. He's got a good arm, but it's more the breaking ball, the changeup, like touch and feel. Like, feel and command of pitches is really important for him. So it was important that he pitched. A guy like Sadeo is a guy that he's got some emotion, and he's more, let's go get him. And him having a full week of, or way more than a full week of rest is extremely helpful.
What about, I want to ask you again about Zane Badmiev. I thought he came in and gave you something out of the bullpen. And it's, I know that you have guys probably in front of him in the line of guys that are going to pitch in the regional, but I think he has kind of carved a rollout for himself late in the year. And that always happens within a season.
Well, all the roles matter. Like, every out matters. So whether if we get up by a decent amount, or we're up in a spot where I just want strikes. Like we had the Arkansas game where we were up by like 7 maybe, and in Cortez we had a long inning, and Kendall Diggs was leading off the inning, left-handed hitter, and Chris had been throwing well that game, but mainly against the righties. The lefties he wasn't commanding the ball as well. The righties he was. And I was like, man, let's get Zane in. And Max looked at me, and I was like, yeah, I want Zane. I was like, he's going to throw strikes. I know he's going to throw strikes. And then he threw strikes in that inning, and then we ended it on Targaches for the 10-run rule. So yeah, Zane has definitely carved out a spot. And when you get in these regionals, that's one thing I said to the team after we lost the late game against Mississippi State. I was screaming at them, "Get out! We got to get out of this dugout and get home. We have a game in 12 hours."
Yeah.
And a little saying that somebody taught me a long time ago: everything in life happens for you, not to you. So I said, listen, this is good practice for us. Like, you guys need to get to bed. You're going to have to wake up early, get to the field. It's going to be hot. This could happen to us in a regional. We could lose a game and have to get up the next day and play 2 or something like that. So at least having been through it a little bit prepares you for what could happen. We hope it doesn't, but it can happen.
I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about some of the games in Hoover, was there a thought that you go to Aschenbeck against Mershon and flip him around right-handed, because Chris does struggle with those left-handers? And it was a great at bat, and the kid, and he fouled off a bunch of pitches, and then Chris hit him with a slider.
Yeah. So I was trying to win a couple games without using Evan.
Yeah.
I don't like using Evan tied. Were we the home team? Yeah, we were the home team.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can definitely make a case for just running him out there. That was the 8th inning, though, I think.
It was
or was it the top of the ninth?
And then
I didn't think about him. I didn't think about flipping him around. It was more about Chris had been pitching really well, and I was trying to not use Evan. I was trying to give us a chance to win the game without him, because he's been a little arm weary lately. So I was trying to either, if we were going to lose 2 games, do it without him, and that way he got the Shane Sadeo rest, or I would rather pitch him with a lead. And then when we got to Hines, I was like, well, our best chance to maybe he can get these 2 outs and we can somehow score. Yeah. And he got him out.
Soft contact.
Well, you had the brutal, just tough luck. The swing and bunt down the first base line, that's not an error. It's the
stupidest error. I couldn't believe it when they
It's not an error. There's no way any pitcher, unless you're right-handed, headed that direction, makes that play. And then he made great pitches to
Dakota
Jordan. Yeah. And then, when Hijack, whatever his name is, came up, I was like, yeah, I can see this. This is the storybook Mississippi State thing.
And he threw a changeup off the plate.
It was supposed to be off the plate. It was a little up, but he was hanging out over the plate and did a good job of putting it in play.
And then last thing, Brad, another solid appearance for Brad as an opener. Is that something you play with in a regional, or will he go back to the bullpen?
He'll go back to the bullpen. I won't play with that, but what it does allow us to do, if we would get in the loser's bracket and maybe want to do that with him, then he's had experience doing it.
One last thing for me, we talked about the player schedule, but for you get this information here in a couple hours, and then what happens from there? The information, how you process that.
Yep. As soon as we watch the show, we'll grab some quick lunch as a staff, and then I told the players give us about 4 hours, so probably maybe 4 o'clock, something like that, 4 or 5 o'clock today. We'll practice, but it takes way more time than that, but I at least want to look at whoever the teams are and get an idea, okay, who's their number one, left-handed lineup, right-handed lineup. I always look for who's the top starter. Oh, holy cow, they got a dude that's 12-1. Oh, holy cow, they got a guy with 11 saves. So there's a dude at the end of the game, and then we can start preparing with all of those things in mind.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yep.
We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Gig 'em.
We'll hit a break here. We'll come back a little bit more with Bronny. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We got Ryan Brauninger in studio. So, I don't know if you listened at all Friday. But I was kind of in my feelings a little bit because I a little worried about how things go. And then Scotty and Zane made me feel much better. And then listening to this guy a moment ago, he's aware of everything. Obviously, he's the head coach. But he just the leadership vibes that I get, and those guys know what to do.
Yeah, when you're talking about successful college baseball coaches, how far down the list do you go before you get to Jim Schlossnagle if you're rating them? So just taking the pulse and temperature of his team, I think is really important. Having a coaching staff around him that has been through it. When I'm talking about been through it, it's obviously Mike has been with him every game, but Nolan has been through this as a player, as a coach at LSU, now as a coach at Texas A&M. And then it would be interesting to talk to Max and about kind of how he has navigated this whole, because it's his first college season. He's obviously been in the professional ranks, and having to manage a college pitching staff and how different that is. I think that would be a really interesting offseason conversation maybe with the A&M pitching coach. But, yeah, I think when it starts at the top, obviously, with Schloss and being able to take the temperature and pulse of his team, I can tell you this, I thought they needed a reset. I thought they needed rest. And, again, that's going to be the theme of my article today, and it sounds like that's exactly what the coaching staff thought they needed to, is just get them off their feet. When you're playing 57 games in a short period of time, it's something that for these freshmen, Gavin was awesome this year, and one of, if not the best freshman season we've ever seen here. Tied Jace for homers, leading the team in hits, just sensational player. And but even for him, this is the most baseball he's ever even come close to playing. Caden Sorrell, I think he could really do with a reset. And as good as he was against Arkansas, it's you back that up with against really good arms at Mississippi State and Tennessee, and you just kind of saw him swimming in it a little bit at the dish. So everybody getting a reset. Braden getting off of his feet, Jackson Appel getting off of his feet. Coach Schlossnagle mentioned that. All of them. I think it was encouraging to hear about the energy that they had at practice last night after getting, was it probably 70 hours or 60 hours off their feet, 2.5 days.
Right.
I think that's encouraging. But, a lot will depend on the matchup. The regionals are harder to navigate than a super regional because you're playing somebody different every day. And there's a potential doubleheader mixed in there if you lose a game. So navigating the regional is really tough. And the matchups that, whatever they are when they're presented, I think that will be what every regional across the country, how people are going to go dive into it and analyze who they think is going to win it when you start looking at projections. But I tell you what's interesting. What do you want? You want to keep talking team stuff, because I want to talk potential bracket stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to actually ask you one last question about just where they are mentally, and then we'll go to the team stuff. Is it real? Is there? I know in other sports you can push a button, right? In baseball, is that a thing? All right, now it's elimination time.
Well,
push the button.
I think if you have a clean reset like this, you can.
Okay.
You have there's almost a clear line that the regular season and SEC, it's over. Now is do or die. Play well or you go home. If you start a game like that or a series like that, it's hard to turn it back on. If you start lackadaisical in a game, innings 1 through 3 or 4, it's not
like in 4 or 5 you turn it back on.
No.
Right.
And look, think about this. Some of the midweek games they had against those SWAC schools, they're obviously supremely more talented than those clubs, but it's hard to just flip that switch, and they were able to do it, but it's hard to just –
because of the talent gap, right?
But, U of H almost came back, and they were playing a tough game with U of H. So it's hard once a game starts to just turn the switch on if you don't go into first pitch hooked up and ready to go. I think in terms of a season, I think this can be a good reset. It's a good time for one. So I would anticipate that whatever happens this coming weekend, that this team will be in a good spot mentally to go attack it. And there's no more time for you to be emotional about results. You can't go, I'm 0 for 2. I'm so upset. I'm 0 for 2. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares about your individual accolades anymore. Nobody cares.
It's
all about the team. So if David Nuño goes 0 for 8 with 7 strikeouts and Texas A&M wins 9-8, you should be the happiest person in the building.
Thank you for giving me another chance to keep playing. Let's
right.
go.
But it can't be. You cannot be emotionally tied to your individual outcomes. It's all about the team outcomes from here forward.
How hard is that, though?
It depends. It depends on how the player's wired. And, it should be easy, right? Like, the goal is Omaha. How many people on this team have been to Omaha? Braden, Targach, Prager, Rudis, Cortez?
Yep.
Is that it? So only 5 of how many people on your roster have been to Omaha. Like, you don't think Jace Lavalette wants to play in Omaha?
That's why he came here.
That's why he came here. Gavin Grahovic, you don't think he wants to play in Omaha? How about Hayden Schott and Teddy Burton and Jackson Appel? Like, they came here for this opportunity.
For that, yeah.
So you cannot be tied to, I'm 0 for 3, I've popped out 3 times.
Right.
Because here comes the ground ball or the fly ball or the ball in the gap that you got to go run down on defense to save the game. And so, yeah, you may be 0 for 3. You may have chased a 3-2 pitch out of the zone and struck out. But the next inning, the ground ball that's going to determine the outcome of the game is going to be hit at you.
What do you do?
What do you do?
Yep.
And if you're so tied up in that last at bat or what you've done over the last 6 at bats, you may hurt the overall team.
Put your bracketologist hat on, and what do you think ends up happening here?
Well, I'm interested to see in terms of the SEC clubs. First off, I think Lamar had an incredible season. I don't think they're going to get in. Their RPI hurt them, but that stinks. When you have a year like that, and then it comes down to how you play over a week stretch in a conference tournament, whether you get to play in the postseason or not, that stinks. I think it really stinks for Tarleton, who would be clear of their window to be eligible for postseason championships starting June 1st. That's when their window's cleared. But because we're not to June 1st yet, they won't get a chance to participate in the big tournament despite winning the WAC conference tournament. Their coaching staff, I'm a big, big fan of. Their head coach, Fuller Smith, and I played together at Hill College. Nick Zaleski, he was a longtime assistant at McNeese. We played against each other. He was at Sam and I was at McNeese. Big fans of that staff, and obviously it's an A&M system school, so I was really pulling for that waiver to get through so that they could get into the tournament. From the SEC perspective, what happens with Florida?
Do they get in?
If Florida gets in, it's going to make a lot of people upset. Now, I personally think, and I think a lot of us think, that if Florida got in,
they can make
some noise. I mean, they've got one of the best players, if not the best player in the country, and they've got super talented kids up and down the lineup, but they're 28-27 with some really, really bad midweek losses. They went to Hoover needing to win a game or a couple of games to really feel good about themselves. And I thought they completely no-showed in Hoover. Like, I was surprised at the effort that they played with.
But are they a team that you could see get to the College World Series if they
Sure,
get the invite?
because they've got the talent,
Yeah.
right? Where does LSU get sent? Because now the LSU that we saw, it started with that A&M series,
yeah.
right? But the LSU team we saw in mid-March compared to what they are now, completely different.
How high of a seat could they get?
Well, they're not going to host, obviously, but they're going to be a 2 somewhere.
Yeah, they will be 2.
But where do they get sent? Like, who? Somebody's not going to want to see LSU pop up as the 2 in their regional. Mississippi State not hosting after winning 20 SEC games is crazy. That's crazy. East Carolina hosting after their resume. They get swept on the road at Tulane. They lost a series to UTSA. How does that happen?
Right.
And they're very injured. East Carolina's beat up. How do they get a regional host spot over Mississippi State? Indiana State got screwed, but Mississippi State's going to end up somewhere as a 2. That's not going to be a 2 anybody wants to see. Is Georgia a national seed? Is Georgia an 8 or is Georgia a 9? I think that's an interesting thing to watch from an SEC perspective.
What do you think?
I think they'll be the 9.
Okay.
I just don't think they're going to give 5 of the top 8 to the SEC. The committee, I know the baseball coverage nationally doesn't get the eyeballs that basketball does or football will when they go to this tournament. But regionally in this area of the country, it gains a lot of attention. And so I'm just going to tell you, in my opinion, this system where you have representatives on the committee that are, East Carolina has a representative on the committee. Don't you think that there's a conflict of interest there?
Absolutely there is.
And I know that happens in basketball too. But, like, how do we not have a neutral as you can have board of people putting together these postseason brackets? Because you can't help it. Everybody's looking out for number one. They're not looking out for the greater good. And life lesson, that happens in most arenas in life.
100%.
Right? But for a tournament that's designed that you want fairness in, so we determine the best teams and a champion, how do you not have neutral parties in there analyzing the data?
Yep.
I think we have a flawed system. I'd be interested to hear Kendall's thoughts on that. He obviously more connected in that world than I am, but just from looking at it, I think we can do better from a college baseball perspective about and be more transparent about why some of this stuff is happening. But I'm super interested. I'll say this before we go. If one of these three teams is not in the College Station Regional, I will be completely, utterly shocked. I think either Texas, TCU, or Nebraska is coming here.
Nebraska because of the storyline
Right.
with Trev, yeah.
All of them because they're storylines,
Right.
right? And then obviously with TCU and Texas, the proximity. So if one of those three isn't in College Station, I'll be shocked. I would heavily lean toward, the obvious one is that they send Texas here.
Yep. Thank you, Bronny.
Yep.
Appreciate you, sir. We'll find that out here in about an hour and a half. Right now, we're going to hit a break. We'll come back with JB Moss, get his thoughts on everything going on with Aggie baseball. But we will conclude this segment with Heritage Films. That is Chance McClain's company. They make documentary films. And those of you who are listening because you're off of work, you're home, you're like just taking in some Aggie baseball talk, you should really consider a heritage film for your family, right? It's a documentary done about your family business, your family ranch, maybe a group of buddies who get together and you guys do things every weekend, every other weekend. You guys go play golf, you have a chess club, whatever. Whatever your thing is for your family, for your group of buddies, you should have a documentary done. You should do one on your grandfather, right? How the family got started. Do one on your dad. Do one on somebody important in your life. Maybe it's your boss. These Heritage Films are 2-hour documentaries done at the highest level. They're so cool, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. You can also do a Yearflix, which is a 20-minute option. It is more a Q&A style, fun, fast video done for the younger kids in the family, right? You can do it for a 6th grader, a 9th grader, maybe even a college student. Do it your freshman year, your sophomore year, you get your Aggie ring, your junior year, 3-part series right there. Do the graduation 4-part series, and there you go. You got yourself an awesome little 4-video package there from Heritage Films and Yearflix. The phone number is 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We go straight to the hotline. JB Moss joining us to talk a little Aggie baseball. JB, good morning, buddy. How you been?
Nuño, happy Memorial Day. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, man. So let's just, we just did a real breakdown with Schloss and Brauninger. Let's get your perspective on pushing the button, right? So A&M baseball hasn't played their best the last 3-4 weeks, right? But you know who this team has been over the long haul. So how do they push the button, if you will, when the regional starts?
Oh, man, that's a tough question for me to answer. I think you've already asked the experts in Bronny and certainly Slosh. I think Slosh is certainly at the top of the list when you look for, coaches who get to Omaha. He did it 4 times in a row, at TCU. I think he was there 5 times in 8 years in his career. And I just think it's a balance between being rested and recovered and being sharp and playing your best baseball at the best time. But I have a lot of confidence in these players. As you mentioned, they've certainly had a great season, and have a lot of confidence in the staff as well to press the right buttons to get these guys in peak physical and mental shape before Friday's opener.
So let's talk about whenever these teams are announced here shortly in the next hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes. What is like the mindset of a regional compared to maybe a tournament in Hoover and maybe a super regional, because you are competing with several other teams. You definitely want to be there as short as possible. So what's kind of like the approach?
Well, I would say that regional is more like Hoover. You're looking at tournament style baseball. When you get to a super's a lot easier because it's just a 3-game series that you've played all year long. So it feels a lot more familiar to you. It's a good thing that, all these teams go through conference tournament play and then they hop into a regional because there's similar formatting. You have different start times. Teams can play early in the morning or late at night. So the conference tournament is a good kind of precursor for regional play. You just take it one game at a time, it's the team has adopted the opening day mentality, and I think you just carry that over into regional play, and you can't get caught up in who's in your regional or how many teams are there. You just kind of take it one team at a time and you study and do your homework and then just try to play your best.
Concerns with the offense recently that it just has not been producing the way we're used to seeing. Are you concerned?
Yeah, there's some concern there. I mean, look, the strikeout rate is a little high for me, but look, they've had a high strikeout rate all year long. But what they've done so well is they've had runners on base. It feels like for the majority of the season they've had so much traffic on the base paths that when they do their damage via home run, it's these very large crooked numbers that are able to separate them from other teams. And so it's really more the lower walk rate to me as opposed to the higher strikeout rate. I just want to see them, get back to what they've been doing. I would say 85-90% of the season and working these counts and getting deep in counts and avoiding the strikeout, having traffic on the bases. And like I said, no, I just don't think anybody can catch them offensively if they're disciplined, taking their walks, and then these home runs turn into, 2 and 3 run home runs is when they really are able to separate themselves.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'd like to see a little bit more patience at the plate like we saw throughout most of the year. Is that something that you noticed?
Yeah, it is. And I think it's something that guys like Bronny and Zaynab does such a great job of relaying to the fan base and kind of trying to get in the head of these players. I mean, look, when you're scuffling a little bit, the natural instinct is, I want to get a hit as fast as possible to get out of whatever funk that I'm in. And so swinging early in the count is an indication of maybe guys pressing a little bit and just trying to get back on track, when in reality, a mature player, when you're able to step back away from the situation and say, okay, if I just have a good at-bat and I'm not so hung up on the result, it doesn't have to be a hit. It just has to be a good at-bat, a quality at-bat is what we call it. If you start stacking quality at-bat after quality at-bat, that's when the positive results come. And it's so hard in a game that's solely focused on results to not be result-oriented. But I think that's something Coach Early and Coach Kane do such a great job of instilling in these guys, and just trying to keep them process-focused. And, hey, let's just have a great at-bat, and let's just start stacking these, and sooner or later you're going to be going to the plate feeling 10 feet tall and let your talent take over.
Talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio. So one of the things that Schloss was talking about was the time off is good mentally and physically. I'm sure you had situations where you had a little bit of time off before a regional. How much did that help you?
No, it definitely helps. Look, I think that I'm going to have a hard time answering this question, just like I feel like Slosh and Bronny do. Look, there's no black and white answer to your question in the facts of like, hey, would you rather play for a championship? Would you rather win a championship, or would you rather get home, rest and recharge? I think it's so hard because we do this to win championships, right? We don't do this to have the box score say, hey, we won 40 games this season. Well, you want to win a championship. That's the reason you work so hard and put so much time and effort into this thing. And so, they've had 2 chances to win championships, to win the SEC and to win the SEC tournament, and they weren't able to do either. But at the same time, does that really matter if you're not going to play your best at the end of the season? So, it's a tricky answer, Nuño. I think all that matters is that you play your best baseball at the end of the year when it matters the most, when the stakes are the highest. And so would I be okay sacrificing an SEC tournament title to see these guys make it to Omaha and ultimately hold up a national title trophy? Absolutely. And so I heard Slosh in the earlier segment, and they're obviously prioritizing getting these guys rested and off their feet, and I think that's great. I think it's more beneficial for them mentally, just personally, but I think I'm excited to see them rested and recharged, and can't wait to watch them first pitch Friday night.
All right, another player mindset thing, all right? You're waiting to find out what the bracket is, right? You find out who's coming here to the regional. Take me through that, like the anticipation of it coming down, and then you see the teams, now you go to work.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Look, this morning is one of my favorite days of the season, at least it was as a player, because it's your first bit of reward for all the hard work that you put in. I remember in 2016, we were named the number 4 national seed. I can't speak of this with complete certainty, but I think that was the highest national seed we had there in a long, long time. Excuse me. So we were very proud of that, very excited. But like you said, after that, you kind of enjoy the show for an hour. You see who's coming to town, and then we would have practice immediately following the show. So it's kind of get to work, and then certainly you're excited about who's in the bracket.
Obviously, we don't love the way they've played recently, but that being said, I know you have a lot of confidence in what this team can do, so just kind of closes out with some thoughts, knowing that now it's go time. Let's get it done.
Yeah, I think, look, for better or worse, for every single team that's in the NCAA tournament, everything that you've done to this point, nobody cares, right? It doesn't matter if you're the last team that snuck in. Look at Ole Miss and their national title run, or if you're the number 1 overall seed, which we know hasn't won a national title since '99. So I think that it's exciting. I think that you want to be rested. You want to feel recovered. You kind of do want to feel like you're playing your best baseball at this time. But if you're not, you take this week to practice and try to feel good about yourself and just be as prepared as you can be. And look, I think the key to this team is a couple things moving forward. I think their ability to throw strikes. I think Slosh would tell you, given this day and age of baseball, the solo home run isn't going to scare him, especially when he has a lineup as talented as he does in Aggie land. I think that when you get in trouble is if you walk a guy, you hit a guy, maybe we boot the ball around the infield and there's 2 guys on and now it's a 3-run home run. So I think just doing what they've done majority of the year, and that throw strikes, avoid the free bases, play clean defensive baseball. And if you give up a solo shot, hey, I'm going to take my chances in 1 run or 2 runs not beating this Texas A&M team. So just their mantra all year long, just dominate the zone, and then offensively, take the balls and hammer the strikes. Allow them to put you on first base for free, because it's something that happens at a very high rate in college baseball. So take your walks, and then when you get good pitches to hit, they're playing at home. Olsen Field at Blue Bell Park is going to be hot. The wind's going to be blowing out, and that's a big, big advantage to this offense. So I have a lot of confidence in this team in regional and super regional. I still feel like this is an Omaha team for sure.
JB, great stuff, man. Thanks so much, buddy.
Absolutely. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Kick 'em. JB Moss there on the hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Around Aggieland. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet right now. You can find them on Highway 21. You can find them online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. That's where you're going to find the deals and the vehicles, right? You go there to CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. You're going to see what vehicles that they have. And then I highly recommend that you go out there. You make the little trek out there to Caldwell, and you test drive the vehicles. You talk to the crew out there, and you find the right car for you because they're going to help you throughout the entire process. People say that. I can attest to it. Like, I've been there. I've gone through the process with them. I told them what I was looking for. They helped find it for me. I test drove it, thought about it a little bit longer. Bam, I got the car. We got ourselves a Tahoe. I was going to call it a Shaho, but a Tahoe a couple years ago, and it was perfect for our family needs. And they'll help you find the exact thing that you need for your family with a great deal and a great trade-in value, and, of course, that amazing customer service that is beginning, middle, and end. Complimentary pickup and service, complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. It's about a 15-minute drive. Brian to Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. All right, it's time for Around Aggieland here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Around Aggieland is presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website, normandystatebank.com. And with that, we have Kay Tired. Hi, Kay.
Kay Tired, yep. It was an eventful weekend.
Great
in
work,
Austin.
by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was really fun. I'm not a huge fan of the city. I mean, I don't think most Aggies are.
Yeah.
But overall, pretty good weekend. Just Friday, like they were in, Aggie softball was in every single game. You never felt they were out. And then just 3 big swings in each of the game kept them in it. It was pretty awesome to see a silenced Longhorn crowd just when Julia Cottrell goes yard. Trinity Cannon had a weekend.
Maya Perez
on Saturday. That was absolutely nuts. So yeah, they were really never out. Each game was separated by a run, and yeah, they were pretty heartbroken after. I know Trinity Cannon, Rylan Wiggins, a lot of those seniors. It was a hard one for them to take in.
It was hard to listen to Coach Ford too, because it was hard on her.
It was those two specifically. They stayed whenever she came into this program, and I asked Trinity like, hey, whenever she came in, why did you decide to stay? And then is this where you think this program could have led? And she was just brought to tears. It was sad, but overall a fantastic season, and I know they will have more coming next year. So let's get into Around Aggieland really fast.
In our last minute.
So like I was talking about softball, they were down to their final 3 outs and trailing 4 runs. They attempted to rally in the 7th. Julia Cottrell hit a huge 3-run bomb, but ultimately fell short to the top-seeded Texas as they emerged victorious on Sunday and sent the Aggies home with a 44-15 record. Also talked a lot of postseason baseball. A&M will be hosting the Bryan College Station Regional. They were named one of 16 hosts. And then also men's golf campaign ended on Sunday in the 3rd round of the NCAA Division I Men's Golf Championship. So, fortunately, a lot of seasons ending, but hopefully some more postseason baseball can continue.
Hopefully. All right, Kay, thank you very much.
Of course.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Billy Liucci will be on a mobile. He'll eventually make it here to studios. He's driving across the world. We'll get him in here. We'll talk some football. We'll talk some baseball. We'll talk some softball. We'll talk it all. That's coming up next here on TexAgs Radio. Hey, everybody. TexAgs Radio. Hi, this is TexAgs Radio. Let's go into the hotline right now with Billy Liucci. That's a little thing for Billy. Billy, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good. I mean, I'm all right. What was that song? That like Pink Floyd or something?
I don't know. Emily can type it in the chat, and she can let us know what she's running there at Ryan Broadcasting.
That's necessary. What's
buddy?
We got a couple of new names this morning. You got one that Dalton and Zane came up with a couple months ago that gets more and more apropos is double Bagginger. And I'm talking about the two bases. That guy, if I had a nickel for every time that guy's just trying to push that two base thing, I don't know if he's like out there under contract for Slosh, because I know Slosh likes it, or what he's doing. But if TexAgs got paid like royalty for every time he talks about the double bag, we'd be rich. And now I guess I'm going to go with Resettinger, because if I'm driving to see you here right now, and if I was heard the word reset one more time, I might have veered off the road.
Billy Liucci out there on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's. You know, you've actually started
You got to reset. You got to reset out there.
You got to reset out there. So we got people now counting the theirs outside of just you, Dalton, and Zane, right? There's like listeners. So I appreciate that.
It's like a drinking game.
Every time you get a latte. That's how it works here, a cappuccino. Hey, let's talk softball to start off here, because I know you were glued to your TV for those games, and just what an incredible run that I thought they were going to do it, man. I even at the very end yesterday, I was like, I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to find a way. It's not this year, but it's coming.
Yeah, it is. She's building an awesome she's got an awesome thing going on over there. The softball, but yeah, no, Trisha Ford, like, and here's the thing, I always talk about this, the type teams that Aggies appreciate, and the type coaches that Aggies really appreciate, and just listening to her talk, I really enjoy her when she comes on radio. We talk, we like listening to the interviews with Slosh each week, but and Elko's so great when he sits down with you. I like listening to her come in and talk. I enjoy the interviews. You can tell what she demands and expects of her players, of her team, of her coaching staff, of herself. And I think it's a pretty damn high standard. And I don't think there's anyone that's looking back going, yeah, that was fun. That was fun. I think they walked away just devastated and pissed off that they didn't win. I think they thought they were the better team going in there, and they played like it. I'm not saying they outplayed. It was a dead even deal. That was damn near dead even. I don't know the numbers. I would assume A&M led for way more innings than Texas did. They did. I haven't done the math, but I'm comfortable in saying that. But just, oh man, what a tough weekend. Because David, the way they're playing right now, that softball team could have, Tennessee was outside of OU, they could have made some real noise. And by the way, I say outside of OU, Texas and OU split 4 games this year, I think. That team, the way they're playing right now, which was dead even, played Texas off their feet in Austin. And I heard what their coach said about it. That's a 16 seed. Like, basically, I don't know what I'm looking at here. But that they were playing as well as anyone in the country and could have made real noise in OKC. They really could have. And at a minimum, I think their team, you could have seen them win a couple games like you saw A&M baseball do in year one under Slosh. It's so frustrating because I know they're going to be kicking themselves over errors and, that second game, how close they were to getting it done and missed opportunities, because when games are that close, there's a million of them. But I do think they're going to look back and go, man, if we just executed some of the, simpler things along the way, we win that series. But I couldn't have been more proud of an A&M team. The goal is to win. There's no more. Their season's over. Texas is going to the World Series. That's that. They lost 2 out of 3 to their arch rival. But it still doesn't change the fact that you can be really proud and really excited about the future. And that's where I'm at with Aggie softball right now. Like you said at the beginning, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that she's building a powerhouse program, this is a proud program that has a lot of history, and I think they made a hell of a hire and finding the person to bring it back. And that team, I love listening to their interviews, how competitive they are. They didn't bat an eye going into Austin. They didn't bat an eye taking on the number 1 team in the country. Again, like I said, I think they went in fully believing they were the better team. Probably walked away feeling that way too. And I thought it was dead even, but like both teams, like clutch at bat after clutch at bat, big play after big play. It was fun to watch. It was theater all the way down to that last inning of Game 3. But it's just, that was fun to watch. I don't care if you're in maroon and white or burnt orange, and you saw fans from both sides saying that, and that's what that rivalry is about. That was girls that grew up playing against each other. That was, a 16 by one name and 1 by the other, and like I said, they were dead ass even because neither one of them wanted to give an inch, and it was heated. You had coaches getting thrown out. You had, it was intense, and that's the rivalry. And then you had fans from both sides. It was such good competition. If you can make Aggies and Longhorns both go, hey, tip your cap to each other, that's when you know it's a hell of a matchup between those two teams. But it's so good that you kind of lose the trash talk for the most part. I mean, I'm not saying Aggies wouldn't have trash talked Texas if they'd have won. And you get Longhorns doing it too. But that's, for the most part, most of the people are like, wow, we just watched a 15-round heavyweight fight. Hopefully, I don't think hopefully, Texas played for the Natty, was it last year? They have a chance to win it this year. And I think Trisha Ford is going to, these teams are going to be meeting in the World Series here in the very near future.
Billy, I do got some football things later on in the show that I want to ask you, but I want to borrow this moment to just kind of use a copy and paste mentality. What can we learn from Trisha's first 2 years here, right? And what we can learn from Jamie Morrison and Joni Taylor and Schloss, and apply it to hopefully what seems to be a reoccurring theme with these Aggie coaches, right, for Coach Elko in football.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I'm seeing from, the progress and the potential of all of these programs, but there are some that are fast-tracked more than others, and some, again, like there are certain sports that it's, A&M, you almost go should be elite at these sports. And I think baseball, softball are certainly not easy because of the level of competition in the SEC. But I think those are sports that historically have been very good at A&M, and you're trying to get what Slosh and Trisha are trying to do is make them great, not very good, great, elite, and that's why you went out and hired those two, and they're doing that. But like volleyball, basketball, outside of Gary Blair, it's been those. I think those are tougher sports to win at A&M. Just because historically, tell you otherwise. Football and Mike Elko, I think when you look at Buzz, Slosh, Trisha, when you look at, Mark Weaver, you look at Chadwell, it's about, you look at Pat Henry, and what you got to remember what Pat Henry did upon arriving here at A&M, and what he might do here in the next week or two. But it's about establishing a culture and it's got to be one that you live and breathe as the head coach. It can't be, I'm going to come in here and yell and scream and shake everybody up at the beginning because I'm the new sheriff in town. But then day to day, I don't live and breathe that culture. I'm distracted. I'm not saying distracted where you're not doing the job, but I'm distracted by this part of the job and the culture's falling behind. Or I'm distracted by a social, I'm talking about coaches around sports. I'm distracted by my social life. Or I'm, no, you have to establish the culture and you have to live and breathe it. And that's one thing I have zero doubts about when it comes to Mike Elko. Like, he is the culture. And I think you could say that about those coaches I just mentioned as well. They are the culture, and they're not distracted by anything. And it's not Mike. Mike Elko's a defensive coach, right? That's where he cut his teeth in coaching. That's what he did at A&M. He's not going to be distracted running his defense from keeping that culture growing, and he's not going to distract him from enforcing discipline and the day-to-day operation that is A&M football. You've got to be able to do both. He's talked about that as far as the CEO, head coach. It doesn't really exist anymore. You have to do both. You have to do all of the above, and some of these coaches very clearly get that. But yeah, what Weaver, Chadwell, Slosh, Tricia Ford have done in just 2 years' time, like I'm talking about their first couple of years on the job, Slosh, Chadwell in year 3, Weaver's been here, but I'm saying right off the rip, what they were able to do here, you could just look at it and go, man, that's pretty special. And in the case of all those people I just mentioned, they've kept it going. This was Tricia Ford in year 2. Year 1, go to the tournament, year 2, go to a super regional, come within an inning or an out or whatever you want to call it, away from the World Series. All that stuff tracks. It's going up, as we've seen with Slosh, Chadwell, Weaver, etc.
Yeah, and Billy, now, along those lines, here it is for Aggie baseball as it's about to get real. We'll find out here momentarily. I know you're going to head out to the announcements here at 11 o'clock. Just right now, though, it's not a button push. They just got to do what they've been doing all year long.
Yeah, no, just play well at home. I'm joking about reset because it was said like 67 times in 14 minutes, but there's so much truth to it. Every team's different. I don't think Tennessee is going to be like some sitting duck target because they won the SEC and because the SEC tournament and because everybody historically that's been a struggle spot. I don't think LSU is now all of a sudden the team everybody wants to play because they had to play so many games in Hoover. I think neither one of those teams do you want to see in your bracket. I'd be shocked if at least one of those two is in Omaha, particularly Tennessee. But, so I don't think – I do think, though, that when it happens, you make the most of it. And I do think certain teams could use rest more. And maybe it sounds like from Slosh that this A&M team is probably one of those. I remember talking to Buzz at Trev Albert's press conference, and it was right before they were going to go play Nebraska, and it was, damn, I said I wanted to win that Florida game so badly, but I looked over at Buzz during that game down the stretch, and he's sitting on the far end of the bench. He took a seat on the furthest seat away from everyone, like almost to where like the mascots are, and he's looking back, watching free throws, and I'm like, he looked mentally just so exhausted. And the players, I see guys getting stretched out for cramps down the stretch of that game, and I'm going, I want to see us win, but if they lose, it ain't going to be the worst thing in the world. So unless you told me they're cutting down nets and winning, I think the worst thing would be to go play Auburn, get another 40-minute fight and lose that game, and it's total waste. And I told him that. I think he basically did say he didn't want to win that SEC conference tournament title, but that day was massive for them. That extra day, and then I believe, they also played on Friday. I don't know this for sure, but I know, last year they had to play for the conference tournament title, and they did 4 games in 4 days. They did, was it 3 in 3 days? They played for the conference tournament title, and I think they played on Thursday. And that's a big difference when you're done on Saturday and you don't play till Friday. Sometimes you need it. And I think baseball, I think this team sounds like they could really use it. But more importantly, I like what he said. There's a reason, season for a reason or whatever rhyme he was doing. It is so true, right? Like, they earn the home field advantage with their body of work all the way to Omaha. They earned being able to play at a place where the wind's typically blowing out and they hit bombs and they don't die on the warning track like they did in Hoover, and where this team is 35-3 this year, where this team swept Vandy. They won 2 out of 3 against Mississippi State. They swept Auburn. They took 2 out of 3 against Arkansas and Georgia. All teams that are really good. This is a team that is exceptional at home, and they earn the right to play there. So anyone that wants to advance past, into the super regionals in this region, they're going to have to go through Texas A&M. And I know we're all thinking it's about a 90% chance they're going to plop Texas down here. And if it's not them, it'll be a TCU team that's got a lot of left-handed pitching. But so you know what you're going to get for the most part. And there's going to be regional teams here that are tough. How you cut it. So this is going to be a hard region to watch. My only question is, 4 seed wise, I heard Sloss talking, are you going to get the Oral Roberts type team that's a real threat, or are you going to get a little bit of a lesser opponent? Which, by the way, you still have to be careful. We watched A&M struggle on these Tuesday night games with a lot of lesser teams, and I know they kind of pitch by committee, but they also trotted out the same lineup most of the year, and sometimes those lineups were slow starting against the inferior pitching, and not anything close to what you see in the SEC, but because of that, it's so different. So they're tricky too, but I think that's my most interesting thing. I fully expect Texas and TCU. I think we all know where that's going. I think you need look no further than what happened last week. Or volleyball, what else was it? Men's tennis or basketball last year. That second round matchup was set up, had the Aggies won. But I'm way more interested to see who the other team is, and who's going to be that 2-3 game, and then who is that 4 seed, and what type of program are you getting there? Who's their ace pitcher? Is it you go get like a, Monmouth or something? They've got, like, I heard him talking about they had a guy they faced on one of those lesser programs with the 6th round draft pick pitcher. Who is it? So that's what I'm more interested in seeing today than anything else. But whoever it is, they got to go through Texas A&M at Bluebell Park in front of, a sold out Maroon and White crowd, the 12th man, and Section 203 and everything that comes with it. And it's a tall order. So while I'll say Nuño is going to be really tough for A&M, I believe it's tougher on the opposition, and that's the whole point of winning all those games that A&M won this year. Because they don't have a ring to show for it. They don't have a championship to show for it, and that's all fine because that's not the ultimate goal, and they're still very much in play for the ultimate goal. I think goals, I guess you'd say, which number 1 would be Omaha, and number 2 would be obviously winning the whole thing.
Billy, when we come back, I do want to ask about some concerns entering this regional. Once we do find out, get your thoughts on that. Plus, we got some recruiting news to get into and some other football topics. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Right now, we're talking about FBS Appliance. Their team of experts are here to help you with the appliances that you need to make your house a home. And they carry all the top brands you can imagine out there to make your life easier with appliances to fit any budget out there. They've been taking care of Texas since 1988. They have your trusted brands like Bosch with an expert staff, trained installers to guide you through your purchase, because FBS is your trusted appliance store, and they do so much more than that. Customer satisfaction is at the core of everything they do. That's why they've assembled a team of trained sales professionals who are experts in their field. They provide a personalized assistance, drawing on their product knowledge and expertise to guide you through the entire process. They're committed to delivering exceptional experience from start to finish. You will love what they do there. Visit them at any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. Again, that is factorybuilderstores.com. "35 minutes or so from finding out who will be coming to College Station for the regionals. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go back to the hotline. Billy Liucci is with us. Billy, just Let's talk about the Hoover experience for you overall and just where you see this team is. What concerns do you have heading into heading into the regional?
Well, I mean, I guess we'll talk a lot about this after the pairings are announced, right? We're going to have Brawny and stuff. But my biggest thing is just them getting, the starting pitching is a concern, but it could also end up being lights out because everybody they're going to trot out there, I would assume, has recently had a lights out performance, but they've also struggled. It's just been up and down. So I just don't think outside of Prager you really know what you're going to get. So because of that, that's going to be a concern. Now, they Slosh and Max have shown that they can navigate around that thanks to some of those bullpen arms, the long relief type guys, and they can navigate around it. That's fine, but it's a concern, if you're playing a long weekend and you have to play 4 games or worse, it's that those, Aschenbeck, Cortez, like you don't want to have to tax those guys early. So starting pitching, those guys get deeper than they kind of have been lately, obviously is a big deal. I think it might be the key to success unless your offense, I don't want to say wakes up, because I think we're in there's an interesting thing to debate, which is, look, we know they haven't been hitting in the last 3-4 weeks like they had earlier in the year. I don't care. I haven't bothered to study the numbers. I watched the baseball game. But I also think I think if you dug in a little bit, I think we'd realize that they've been facing some really damn good pitching away from home. They really have. I mean, Tennessee threw out there, Mississippi State obviously started first team all SEC pitcher against you. But one of those two guys you face at Ole Miss comes back a week later, or 2 weeks later, and he's thrown basically a one-hitter in Hoover against a good Mississippi State team. And obviously LSU's front two are pitching their asses off right now. And then in Arkansas, obviously you face the best pitcher in the country in Hagen Smith. And by the way, I would bet, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I would bet high odds that one way or the other, you're looking at 4 or 5 A&M Arkansas. If you do get to Omaha, you're probably facing this guy again in Hagen Smith. So my concern, let's save that and shelve it for there.
Okay.
But I think they've faced outstanding pitching lately. And again, a lot of it away from home. We're going to see who they draw and how outstanding that pitching is, because there are teams that are going to have really good pitching in a regional. But you could make the case, depending on, again, it's entirely dependent on what these brackets look like today, but that they're going to face, the pitching they've faced the last 4 weeks is going to be far superior to what they see on the road to Omaha. And then we can revisit if they make it and they got to play games away from Bluebell Park again, and what the pitching is going to look like there in Omaha. But let's see in about a half hour or so what these brackets look like, and then we can kind of revisit what our expectations are for this offense. Because, even with Rahovic and Jace and Montgomery and Appel and Schott and Burton and even that bottom third of the order, even with those guys, you're going to have to win some games 6-4, 5-3, 7-5. There aren't these totally explosive games, and you may have to win one somewhere along the way, 1-0, like they did the other night. So, I think you go back and look at that Arkansas series, and you say, all things being equal, in the last 4 weeks, there's been one weekend here, and they beat the best pitcher in the country when they couldn't hit him, and then they lost a close game, and then they went back. And in Game 3, when you start getting into the back end of even an Arkansas pitching staff, they clubbed them around. So hopefully that holds here, not just this weekend, but next weekend as well. I mean, they have not lost a home series here, and they played Georgia, and they played Auburn, and they played Arkansas, and they played Mississippi State. They did not drop a home series here, so that bodes very well for them in this postseason. Also, and I think again, these struggles, I think a lot of it has had to do with the pitching and being away from home, and that is something that you don't know when it's going to rear its ugly head at home, but it is something obviously that we need to talk about more if they make it to Omaha as well, because that to me is an even greater concern.
Billy, are you going to be here in studio next segment, or you stay on the phone?
It'll be close, David. It'll be close.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take my time.
Would you like to know exactly where I'm at so you can time it in your head and think? I'll let you decide.
Sure.
I just passed the Republic.
Oh, forget about it, dude. I'll take my
Coming up
time on this.
University.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk to me for like another 60 seconds, then go to commercial, I think we'd be golden.
I think we can talk for another 60 seconds. Look, if we upset Louis, we just deal with the ramifications later, right? Like, we're not worried.
Yeah, we can do it. I'm really fired up though about. I know, like, you'd love to be rolling in with all kinds of momentum right now. You certainly don't want to see a team come to your regional that has that type of momentum. Look no further than TCU last year going into Arkansas and just pounding them as a 2 seed. You also look at A&M last year. They had momentum through that SEC tournament. Pitching came out of nowhere, and they went up there and they beat Fullerton and then Stanford back to back to open up that regional, put Stanford on the ropes. So you would like to not see one of those type teams in your region, and I think that would be the optimal. Because look, I think they're going to be a really strong 2 and 3 seed here. I really do. Not any different than when they had Louisiana and TCU a couple of years ago. I think it's going to look very similar to that. That's not easy. I mean, they're not going to get an easy path. You're just not going to in this part of the country in the way they do non-revenue postseason sports here, in college athletics nowadays. So there's just too many good teams around here. So the 2-3 is going to be rough. I can't wait to see who they are.
All right, Billy, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Billy in studio, hopefully. If not, we'll just let Eric Casares tell us something. Thank you, Billy. We'll come back from the break here in a moment. Right now, we're talking Rollo Insurance. They are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. You know the slogan, the difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. So literally, the boys, we're such bad parents, but the boys are going to be 16 here in a few weeks, and they haven't finished driver's ed because we didn't sign them up because we like them being 10-year-olds as long as possible. But they're going through that whole process right now, which means here in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to be in the market for a car. We've already started the search. We almost bought one earlier this month because, we want to make sure the right situation for them. So we called Rollo Insurance. We talked to my guy Morgan over there, and he kind of told us what we could expect pricing-wise because there's 2 of them, and it is what it is. And they're going to put us in the right situation for the boys and for our entire family. That's why we love Rollo Insurance, because they put you in the right situation that makes the most sense. They're going to shop it around for you and make sure that you get the right deal for your family and for your needs out there, and they can do that. They're local. They're right here in College Station. You know that about them. You drive down 6, you'll see them. The headquarters is on Highway 6 here in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. That is 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. And we are finally back, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Looked like Nick had to run to the front to let Billy into the building, so we are going to get Billy here in studio. While we wait for that, we'll go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Eric Crusaris is there. Eric, I know some texts have been coming in.
Yeah, actually, honestly, we don't really have a text to read, but I do have some information I want to bring out to you, David.
Okay, well, please, by all means.
So we didn't get into, because I know we were talking about Connor Schulman earlier in the track and field, the controversy there. So we didn't get into some of the individuals that made it. So I just wanted to give a couple shout outs to some people that you will see in Eugene. And of course, we'll talk more about this on Wednesday. On the men's side, Sam Whitmarsh, he made it for the 800 meters also with Kamar and Caden Norris. They all made it, 3 individually in the 800 meters. Victor Kibiego in the steeplechase made it. JQ Scott in the the hurdles, 110 hurdles. Sam Hankins in the javelin. Bryce McCrae in the hurdles. Ahmad Robinson, Javon O'Brien, and Cutler Zamzow in the 4x4 relay. So that is on the guys' side, and it looks like Billy's here. So I'll get the girls for you later.
Thank you very much, buddy. Billy Liucci here in studio. Let's see where we make fun of me first.
I'm not.
No, there was an investigation going on.
There was not.
I see what you do. You do this.
I know I'm sitting low as hell in this chair, Nick.
We changed chairs. I saw him do that. I saw him change not only the mic, the chair.
I called Nick. I said, "Can you come get me?" He was like, "Where?" I go,
"The front door."
Pluto. Where else would I be calling this? The front door.
I saw him going. I was like, "Oh." And he didn't run. He took his time going to the door. You know, the segment had started.
Oh, man.
Good times.
I brought breakfast today for everybody. So.
I might even have one.
Good for you.
I might. We'll see how things go. Hey, so I wanted to get into Adonis Curry because I don't want to say I find it interesting, but I'm intrigued by 2 California guys now committing, and just I think a part of the country where A&M has done okay in the past, but I feel like there's a concerted effort there potentially because there's always talent there in California.
Yeah, there absolutely is, and there is a concerted effort out there. It's 100%. It's not coincidence, and it's not just these 2 guys. You know, they're making an effort out west. And I think they see opportunity. You know, A&M in Texas and now OU are the furthest west. In this conference, it was something Coach Sumlin liked to try to do. He had, you talk about guys, like they got some guys out of Arizona, most notably Christian Kirk, Kyle Allen. They tried to go west some because, especially now, like all those kids on the West Coast, they are either going to play football in the Big Ten or probably the SEC.
Right.
And it's not quite the dogfight that it is when, like, okay, I want to go get a guy out of Georgia, that Georgia and Bama, and like, you do need to go fight and win some of those battles. And you saw that was I thought the biggest thing with Jimbo, his biggest strength was they were able to do that. And you've seen A&M win already under Elko some battles in Florida, but in that Southeast, you do have to go win some of those battles. But those are also the toughest battles you're going to fight, and you're going to lose more than you win. So where else is it coming from? Your foundation is Texas. I think they're doing a great job in state this year, and I think it's only going up, not only in the future but throughout the rest of this cycle. But they looked west and saw real opportunity.
Same caliber of player.
Much like the Settlers. They looked west and saw opportunity and gold and but
same level of player though, right? With different
type of. You have to go with the elite upper end,
right?
There's not the depth that there is in the SEC footprint, so you've obviously got to be careful. You can't just say we're going to just go recruit the West Coast and play football in the SEC.
They're not doing that.
There's not the depth, and there's not the need when you have. It's got to go Texas SEC footprint, but. For example, in the case of Elko, or in Elijah and under Jimbo, they had this real presence in the Northeast, Pennsylvania. They were causing James Franklin headaches, and they got some good players out of there. But for this staff, it looks like that area that they go and have a really strong presence in outside of the footprint might be going west. And there is, again, opportunity because you can sell those kids on. You don't want to go play in the Big Ten. And it's not that that's not going to be a good league. It's still going to be a better
really
league
good
than
league.
it was. But it's the travel and the conditions and the weather. And these are kids from Arizona and California. So a lot of times your primary competition will be just, the Oregons and USCs of the world. So, and again, they're in the Big Ten. So there's your selling point. So, look, they've gotten committed right now? 2 of the top 3 players in California. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
And the best prospect in Arizona. So with Adonis, I just see them continuing to load up in that secondary, man. And this kid, you see a taller guy. And Elko laughs. We've joked about it because when he got here, everybody's going, that's an Elko corner. He loves those 6'3", 6'4 corner. It's what he inherited when he got here. He loves good corners that can cover, turn their hips, run, DBs that can do. And look at him here in the return game. He's an explosive athlete. And you look at the guys they've taken in the secondary so far, and the one thing you'd say about all of them is when you watch them on tape, they're fast. They're fast and they can run and they're athletic, like smooth playing dudes when it comes to turning their hips and their back pedal and if they're at safety even, just their ability to turn and run. So I think this is an outstanding pickup. And really, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Oregon was certainly your toughest comp there, and I think Oklahoma. So, I mean, they had to fight.
It's a big battle.
It was a real battle to get him, and I think it's a big deal right there. Like what they're doing at cornerback, David, and I said it the other day, what they're doing at corner and in the secondary is such a dramatic, fast turnaround. I heard you talking about Bussey this morning. So, I mean, I've said it the other day. You got multiple 5-stars in Bussey and Ricks because that's not only what he was, it's what he was showing already at Alabama. So you've added essentially 2 5-stars already. And what they're doing in this class right here, from Houston to Arizona out to California, I think it has a chance to be really special when you supplement it with what they did this past cycle in the portal and with Bussey.
All right, let's do this.
And Miles Davis too, another highly rated guy they had.
We'll hit a break. I do want to talk to you about some of the changes coming in football, which you were one of the first ones to talk about here on the show. And now that it looks like it's official, there's still some ink that has to dry, but we'll get into that on the other side. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. As a reminder, they are not open on Mondays. Billy, actually, I promised a segment with you, but you got to get out of here to make it to the announcement. I know you want to be by the team, so I gotta let you go.
I'm gonna get in the car and drive up because it's over on the other side. So head over there, and then me, you, and Brauninger will be back here in a few minutes to kind of break it all down.
We'll break it down. We'll do a luchador, which you can get on TexAgs.com. Thank you, Billy. Appreciate you,
Thanks,
buddy.
David.
Yep. All right, let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know you had some other reports you wanted to get into before we end the show, Eric.
Yeah, so real quick, going back to track and field, I didn't get to the women that qualified. Lamar Disson in the high jump, Leanna Davidson in the javelin, Heather Abedy in pole vault, Tamara Chapman in heptathlon. Also got Janaire Thomas in heptathlon. Abigail Martin, she was discus. Nisi Kambago, she made it in 2 events. Jaya Covington, hurdles. Jermaisha Arnold in individual and relay for 4x400 and also the open 400. Jaden Wood is a part of that 400 as well, and Kennedy Wade as well. And then Leah Burr and Layla Hackett and Samira Killebrew and Cameron Dixon are all part of the 4x1 relay. And Samira made it in the 100-meter, and Cameron Dixon made it in the 200-meter. So lots of qualifying spots there. And like I said, it's going to be really, really fun to talk about on Wednesday.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I know we've got some sports news out of the Metroplex that we would like to get into. The Stars have evened the series there with the Oilers, so they're at 1-1. They play again tonight, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Game 3 is tonight. The series is tied 1-1, and then the Mavs took a demanding 3-0 series lead over the Timberwolves, which, David, I'm at a loss for words. I did not think that the Mavs team had what it took, honestly, to go into this series and beat a Minnesota team. I thought the matchup, the size, the defense, I thought it was going to be too much, but they've answered the call.
Yeah, they have. So I found it interesting, and Reggie Miller yesterday on the broadcast called Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic the most talented backcourt in NBA history, I believe is how he phrased it. I love that backcourt. I don't know if that's the case. I'd have to kind of go through. I don't even know what would be in the mix, but there's certainly a conversation to be made about it. But that being said, what they are able to do, those guys, and that was another thing that Reggie said. He compared them to Mariano Rivera and Dennis Eckersley. Do you know who Dennis Eckersley is, Eric?
No, I think was that before my time.
It was before your time. Do you know who Mariano Rivera is?
No, I do not.
That was definitely during your time.
That was Mario. What's his name?
Mariano
Rivera.
Yeah, very famous opera singer
for the Yankees.
Yeah, for the Yankees. Did you Google it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, closer for the Yankees. But because they're closers, right? And that is what you have seen from the Mavs in this series is, and actually in all their series, right, is the ability to close out a team when it matters. This series has been close, right? Yes, was it Game 2 that Minnesota was up big, and then the Mavs came roaring back. Game 3, the Mavs were up, and then Minnesota comes roaring back. But at the end of games, the 2 guards are getting the ball, and you're going to either foul them or they're going to. And one of the things that I thought was I worried about in this matchup was Rudy Gobert in the middle because the Mavs love to attack, and yes, they pitch it back out. But Rudy got himself into a little foul trouble in the third quarter, and it was interesting how Minnesota went small, and it actually opened up the game for them a little bit more. But at the end of the day, you're going to go small ball between those two teams. You're going to take a Luka Doncic, how strong and fast and physical he can be, and Kyrie Irving's ability to contort his body and finish plays. That is why that they're up 3-0.
I think, yeah, and also, like, you have to make adjustments. And what I really like, I will be the first to admit that I was wrong about Jason Kidd. I thought that ultimately Jason Kidd, if, like, the Mavs were going to have success, it wasn't going to be because of him. But he's actually been a big difference maker this playoffs in terms of defensive schemes, everything. Like, even when something that I thought has been really good is, like, they've found ways to attack the big men of Minnesota, which I thought, like, okay, like, yeah, we have Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, but they have Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year. They have Karl Anthony Towns, who's one of the best big shooting men in the league. And then, of course, Naz Reid is possibly the best backup center in the NBA right now. So I thought they would just rotate those guys in and, like, really destroy us, especially inside. But we have found a way to bring them out of the perimeter, get them uncomfortable, attack them in different situations, and you just have so much to worry about outside of Luka and Kai. And we're starting to see that Jason Kidd's making those defensive adjustments. really the Wolves have no answers right now, so they're going to have to respond big to avoid to get swept.
Watch this. Nick, how many minutes of the NBA playoffs have you watched? Okay. How many minutes of the NHL playoffs have you watched?
Who are you talking to?
You.
Me?
I was just curious.
I'm busy. I'm directing people.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I actually watched
bad about it.
Game 7 for the Stars. I watched the last 8 minutes of it, which is the most hockey I think I've ever watched in my life.
What about the Mavs? You watched any of that?
Heck no, bro. I could care less.
What if it were the Rockets? Would you care?
No. I couldn't name you. Jalen Green, is that a Rockets player?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I could tell you.
I appreciate your input, Nick. Thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
making this a dramatic ending to the program.
At least I know who Mariano Rivera is.
That was embarrassing. That was terrible.
Okay, to be fair, baseball is my least, I guess, knowledgeable.
And you knew Dennis
sport.
Eckersley, right, Nick? Okay.
I'm learning more about MLB, but NBA, NFL, I got y'all.
It's too late. I apologize to all the listeners out there. All right, so that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio. Here's what I can promise you. We will find out who's coming to the regional here in the next 10 minutes or so. We will also do a luchador immediately afterwards. So look to see that sometime. I don't know. I don't want to give you a time, but it's coming pretty quickly after we record it. So we'll get you ready for that, get you ready for the regional. And tomorrow's show, still open, up in the air. We'll get to that here sometime this afternoon. We do want to figure out this regional first. That's going to do it for TexAgs here on a Memorial Day. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you mañana.